Hello, my name is William Pennell Rock, and I'm here today to talk to you about the Romance Archetype. This is a basic form, the form of all the stories that we love so much, stories of lovers who are destined for each other, get separated, and then are reunited. This is sometimes called the romance monomyth, or as we will call it, the romance archetype. This universal form has 4 characters and 5 acts. The 4 characters are the hero, the heroine, the villain, and the helper. The 5 acts begin with the lovers established as belonging together. Then a saboteur appears and separates them. A helper comes forward and gives them some sort of magic power. A battle ensues of the lovers against the villain, and using the magic power, they're able to transform the situation so that they are reunited. Now let me tell you how I discovered the romance archetype. Many years ago, I had an academic position at Varanasi Hindu University in India. I was invited by the Maharaja of Varanasi to a celebration called the Ram Leela, which took place in the grounds around his castle across the Ganges. I crossed the Ganges right in the middle of the monsoon and found there hundreds of pilgrims, sadhus, priests, musicians, and all of these would gather in a procession headed by the Maharaja and his guests on elephants and proceed from one scene to the other. Each scene had its own ritual. At this pace, at this rate, the Ram Leela lasted for 1 month. I was astonished at this. How can it be that one play, one story, is important enough to merit this incredible production and the involvement, devoted involvement, of all the pilgrims that were present? So let me go back some years even before that, when I was an undergraduate. I discovered a book by Joseph Campbell called The Hero with 1,000 Faces. In this book, Campbell outlined the hero journey monomyth. That is, one story that is behind every adventure story that has ever been created. When I looked deep into this, I realized that this is a kind of language. This is the language of human self-understanding of the process of transformation. How we go through transformation is recorded, is represented by this system of images called the hero monomyth. Transformation is a complete change from one status quo to an entirely different status quo. To understand this, I was very happy to discover C.G. Jung, the great psychologist. He discovered that there are archetypes, these images that I was discovering through the hero's journey are called archetypes. That means forms that are present in every human being, in every human psyche. These systems of archetypes represented by the monomyth are the pattern of transformation that are compose one cycle of an entire life process, which Jung called individuation, which is the way a human being becomes fulfilled as authentically what they are. The psychologist Jung discovered that all the neuroses and psychoses that we have actually belong to a process that needs to be completed for a complete healing, a new wholeness to be attained. And this is what is represented by the hero monomyth. The next thinker that had a great deal of influence on me was Martin Heidegger. Heidegger is probably the most difficult and important philosopher of the 20th century. In very basic terms, he said that we all have the same source. He called this being, with a capital B. The source is given in every moment. The question is how we relate to this source. Do we relate to it authentically, or are we false? Are we not authentic? This is the great struggle of life, is to become one with the source, to accord with it, to have an authentic existence. That is, to have an existence that relates authentically to what is given every moment. At Banaras Hindu University, I was studying the Upanishads, which are the greatest documents or extended philosophical poems of classical India, and they are the base of all Indian philosophy. This too represent this journey to our own authenticity, this journey to who we are in our given source nature. So the Upanishads too record this journey. So I became very interested, how can I use this understanding of human process to help people, to help them through their process of transformation, their neuroses, their psychoses even. And so I developed a process called origins. Origins is a form of mythogenesis, generating mythology. It is a form of psychodrama using archetypes. I call it archetypal psychodrama, to discover the myth that is the basis of your life. In time, I realized that through this, I could engineer transformation in people using this basic formula. In time, I came to understand that the romance archetype is another universal story. This story of lovers who are separated and reunited. And this too is another map for the process of transformation. I've written a book called The Romance of All Ages, Transformation, Evolution, and Being. It includes the form, the psychological interpretation, the anthropological interpretation, and the philosophical interpretation. And these I will continue to describe.